Danielle Pinnock plays Alberta Hayes, the 1920s Prohibition jazz singer in the CBS sitcom Ghosts. I'm Matt Noble of Gold Derby, and I wanted to start off by asking you, Danielle, what have you learnt from playing Alberta?
Oh gosh, I've learned so much. I've become a lot more confident and brave. Alberta is just a delicious diva from the Prohibition era, and I am a homebody through and through. So I've just definitely learned to be more confident, and she's taught me so much how to sing, which I didn't know how to do beforehand, how to dance the styles of the 1920s. So it's truly an honor to play this character for real.
Oh, fantastic. And the show is such an ensemble piece. What does Alberta sort of bring to the mix? How does she what does she bring to the table that the other characters don't? And how does she sort of feed that group?
Yes, exactly. I would definitely say that Alberta is the mother hen of the group. Sometimes she is the toxic bestie to Isaac, played amazingly by Brandon Scott Jones. She's definitely thinks that she's better than everybody, and she will not stop talking about all of the bootlegger boyfriends that she had in the 1920s. She loves to gossip, but I think when the ghosts are in the wrong, she likes to kind of gather them up too. And it's like, come on, y'all know y'all tried it. So I definitely think that Alberta, as much as a diva she is, she definitely is the mother hen of the group for sure.
Yeah, and she's got all these sort of like stories from a scandalous past, but you're right, she does have that moral compass to her as well.
Yes.
How do you sort of, in a show that is so like absurd and sort of hilarious, how do you sort of get into those moments where there is some depth and complication that your character needs to explore?
Well, I would have to say, the 1920s was, a fabulous time, but it was also chock full with a lot of racism in America. And I would say this role in particular is me paying homage to all of the voiceless artists that we don't get to hear about. I love this era because it's just so rich with artists such as Langston Hughes and Ma Rainey and Bessie Smith. And there were so many others that we don't even know about. And I think Alberta Haynes is definitely one of them. So when we do get into the more serious, poignant moments of the show, for me, it's always giving back and paying homage to those people.
Mm. And it's interesting because it's about she comes from a time where particularly because of her race, she may not be taken as seriously in the
Yes.
world, but also she's not always taken as seriously as she could be in the house about some of her theories about being murdered and things. So
yeah, I think the ghosts, they definitely for sure gaslight her. Because they've probably been hearing this story about her fabulous death for the last 100 years. And they're like, Alberta, shut up already, y'all. We know it's a heart attack. And she's like, no, it couldn't have been. I had to have been murdered. I think with her, she just wants it to be as fabulous as possible. And yes, back in the day, her singing and her artistry may have not been taken seriously because of her race. But I think now in the house, it's like this is such a diverse group of ghosts. She just wants attention to be paid at all costs, regardless.
well, and the interesting thing is it's a bit ironic that in the episode where her ego takes maybe a bit of a hit because the museum to her is just in some guy's garage, is also where her theory about murder gets affirmed. So she sort of gets validated while at the same time to take a bit of humble pie that she doesn't have this grand museum somewhere. Yeah.
And she ends up going viral too, which I think is such a fabulous thing for Alberta. It's like she got her little Insta fame, which is so good for her. But the thing I think is the most beautiful thing about that episode is we get to find out more about her relationship with her father and how hard her father worked as well too, which mirrors my own personal relationship. And I have to just give a huge shout out to Joe Port and Joe Wiseman and Lauren Bridges and all the writers who worked on that episode, because I was able to share about my personal relationship and how much I wanted to make my own father proud of me after he passed away. So I think even in the afterlife, Alberta is just like, trying to get some cool points with her dad.
Oh, it's so lovely. And I guess how much do you like? Because obviously, the scripts are tight, and you've got
Yes.
so many different characters and things going on in the show. But how much do you like having sort of building that character and bringing like yourself to that the character of
Yeah.
Alberta?
Absolutely. I mean, I bring myself to every character that I play. So I think the great thing is I'm a theater girl through and through. So the opportunity to do dramaturgy on this role, I've never had an opportunity like that before in any of the TV roles that I've ever played. To really just do a deep dive into the historical events, what she would have learned, like what she would have loved, how she was educated, what kind of dances she would have learned, what she was an expert at, what she probably was horrific at. I really did a deep dive, and I wanted to throw myself into this character as much as possible. So I actually ended up taking dance lessons because I genuinely have two left feet in real life. And I definitely wanted to learn singing lessons and like just to get as much of her in me as possible. And I just, again, have to give a huge shout out to our showrunners and EP and all of the writers for listening to me and for allowing me to bring in ideas as well. And also, I would have to say to all the directors that have come onto this project, allowing me to improvise. In Alberta's fan, the last few moments of that episode is all improv. So I'm grateful that they just allow all of us to play. And sometimes it makes it on the air, which is so cool.
Can you think of a like a line or a choice that you sort of improvised that
Oh yeah,
made
the
it in?
moment when the viral moment when Alberta says, "Because I'm famous," like that whole moment
Oh, it's
through
great.
the ending when she's like, "Billie Holiday, who? What's going on? Where?" Like that whole moment is improvised through the ending. And there's so many other little moments that make it in each episode, and I laugh every time. Every time I see them, there's such great surprises.
You and you've got such a sort of cast that's loaded with very funny people.
Yeah.
What's that like when you all get together and have like a big group
Oh my
scene?
God. It feels like one big family reunion, to be honest. And it is so hard for me not to laugh and or not even just laugh, to cry laugh. Devin Long, as who plays Thorfinn, our incredible Viking, takes me down. Like he can improvise for 4 hours at a time, new things, new ideas, fresh takes, and each one is more outlandish than the other, and it just brings me to tears every time because they're so funny. So I definitely have to say Devin takes me out, and once I start crying, we got a whole production. I got to get touched up. But it's so good. He's fantastic.
Mm. Is it hard in those scenes when you're all together to know like how to feed each other and like sort of know
Yes.
when to sort of pop like that get the dynamics and that energy right?
Yes, I mean the thing is it's truly this show is called Ghosts, but I definitely feel like there's this really weird kinetic energy that we all have as an ensemble. Everyone loves each other on this show. Like we truly are a family, and we all work off of each other. We know each other's strengths, we know each other's weaknesses. Who can improv? Who doesn't really like improvising? And it just feeds, I mean, this incredible show. The engine is it's this ensemble. Like we have so much fun every time that we're together. And I'm really grateful to be a part of this show for real.
Mm. Do you have was there a favorite group scene or one that you found particularly hard to keep a straight face during the
I would probably have to say, okay, what was one of those? the dinner table in D&D, the D&D episode when the Farnsmees came. I think that was one that really kind of took me out because we have Pete, played by Richie Moriarty, screaming in Samantha's ear because he thinks that she can't hear ghosts anymore. And a fun fact, Rose McIver, who is iconically, plays Sam, literally had to have like an ear plug in her ear because he was screaming so loud. And every time he screamed, I was taken out. Devin was improvising. Brandon was shaking that daggone ponytail and everything. Every time that thing moves, I was taken out. Hetty, played by Rebecca Wasaki. I mean, the whole gang was there. And then we have Flower, Sheila Carrasco, coming in to start a riot. I mean, it was just unreal. It was an unreal scene. And it just took everything in me. I was like pinching myself, trying not to laugh through that. It was so good.
It was, that's good to hear. I think I'm going to be talking with Rose next week. Do you have a good question for me to ask her?
I would say ask Rose. Let me think. Oh, okay. Yeah. This is something that I want to know with Rose. What's easier? Is it easier to record to do her lines with all of us there? Or is it easier when it's sans fanton, when we're all gone? What's the easiest thing for her? Because she's such an expert. She can do it with us there, without us there. And I mean, the mechanics behind what she has to do, I mean, it truly is a marvel to watch, because Rose can literally do the scene with all of us there, and then once we're removed, she remembers where each of us are. There are no points for her. She's an expert. She's incredible.
Oh, that's wild. What did you have a favorite moment like for Alberta this season?
I have a few favorite moments. Definitely, I would have to say Alberta's fan. That episode just was amazing for me as an actress to just spread my wings. I think for a long time, as a plus size Black woman, I don't get these opportunities to play these weird, quirky characters. So to find out that there was a fan that had a jar of Alberta's toenails saved up and a back tattoo, I mean, that just was one of the highlights for me. And also getting to know a little bit more about this character and her possible murder. I would also say another favorite episode of mine and a favorite Alberta moment was getting to work with Brandon Scott Jones. And I call us toxic besties because yes, we can't stand each other, but we love gossip, and that's always what brings us back. So we got to do that in Flower's article in that episode, trying to get to the truth of why what the secret with Flower was hiding. And I just love getting to work with him, and I hope that we get to work together one-on-one again in season 2.
I'm so sorry, Danielle, my camera has stopped working, but you can still hear me. So people don't need to see me. People don't care about seeing me in this interview. So I'm sorry about that. So also something fun this season, like the ghosts have different abilities and powers, but they're fairly they're not like big superhero Marvel powers or anything like that. Yes, exactly. So Alberta was able to communicate with Alexa, which is actually quite a good one.
Yes, exactly. Alberta has a few powers now, right? So she can hum and the livings can hear her humming. And now Alexa is Alberta's BFF. I mean, and the thing is, it just kind of gets a little bit out of hand when all of the ghosts want to know more about their own histories, and they want to order pizzas and doing all kinds of foolishness. And it gets a little exhausting, but I think the great thing about Alexa is that now Alberta understands how Sam feels with all the requests that the ghosts have to give her on a daily basis. And Alberta's exhausted. She's like, y'all are messy. I'm tired. Please, we got to line up one by one. Like, it's too much. So I love the fact that Alberta gets to talk to Alexa. It's such a great episode.
it is a show, Ghosts, about people who, through coming together, have learnt, they grow and they change and they like sort of progress in ways they wouldn't have if they hadn't met these people from these different eras and come together in this house. What have you how have you grown as an actor coming together with these other performers?
I mean, when I first joined this cast, ironically, I was actually a replacement. So they had two phases of Ghost. There was a pre-pandemic version and a pandemic version. And the pre-pandemic version was already a show that was cast. And then the pandemic version, they had lost a few actors. And a few weeks before the show had started filming for the pilot, I was cast on Zoom for it. And I was so nervous because I had worked for CBS for 4 years on Young Sheldon. So I was excited to be even auditioning for another CBS production, but it was a role that I wanted so badly because I'd always wanted to be in a great ensemble comedy, a single cam comedy, but also a comedy where the ensemble felt like family. And playing such a zany and quirky and delicious diva like Alberta, I was like, oh my gosh, I really hope I booked this. So it wasn't the normal protocol, you know what I mean? Like it was all over Zoom. I wasn't in person. I wasn't dealing with the waiting room shenanigans of an audition. And I was just so shocked that I booked it and that my screen test was on Zoom as well. And I think I was just like really nervous and wanting to just do my best in this character. And I think the biggest thing that I learned is that we have such a unique ensemble that regardless if we fail, if we win, we have such a huge support with this ensemble. And like even in the moments where I may not be at my strongest, there's always somebody that has my back. So I think that's probably one of the best things that I've learned in this ensemble. And I love it so much. I think this cast is so special. And I can't wait to see, what storylines we all have in store for season 2. But I think that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned is that I have the best support system in the business.
Oh, it's really cool. And what do you think is the special thing about Ghosts? What do you think makes that one?
I think the reason people are resonating with it right now during this time is that it's a whole family that's quarantined together. We're all in a very interesting time right now in the pandemic. And I think all of these ghosts, they've lived with each other for so long. They're so diverse. They have all these different personalities. And I think we've all kind of dealt with that in the pandemic. And I think that's why a lot of people, it feels very universal. I also have to give a huge shout out to the UK version because without them, we would not be here. I mean, their format is truly impeccable. And it is such an honor to be doing the US version here as well, too.
Oh, fantastic. And like when you go in to like for a day of shooting at Ghost, what is sort of at the forefront of your mind? Like, what's the thing you're most excited to get to do that?
Okay, listen, this is just now Danielle speaking,
Yeah, please.
My first thing, they have craft services. That's the best oatmeal with brown sugar on the planet Earth. And that is like the first thing I'm thinking about when I get to set. I'm like, oh, I'm about to get my oatmeal today. I also love the actual physical transformation from myself into Alberta because I can have a hairstyle like this and then within 30 minutes, I got the bob wig on, all the makeup and everything, like the wardrobe. And I just love the transformation element from going from plain old Danielle to fabulous Alberta. I mean, the wardrobe team and the makeup teams on this show are unreal. Like I honestly, they need to win everything because the characters from each era, from each generation that they have to do and put in hair and makeup every single morning. And we all come on set looking phenomenal, from Flowers Dirt that they have to put on her to her armpit hair. They glue on from my bangs to my blush to all of Thorfinn's little braids. Like they just do such an incredible job. And I think that's probably my favorite part getting to set is being able to transform.
Well, Danielle, thank you so much for talking with us today about ghosts. People watching this interview can go to goldderby.com to make your own awards predictions and watch other contender interviews. And all the best of luck for the Emmys, Danielle.
Yes. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me today. This was awesome.